I was born without a womb, and I only discovered that after my marriage.
Love trials, a journey full of experience. With God on your side, all will be alright.
Imagine being raised on dreams of matrimonial bliss. As a woman, as a young lady, as a girl, and you discover 18 years later, 18 years of your existence on earth, that you have no womb. Yes, this is the story of a very unique young woman, young lady, who has shared her story with the world. She went on to write a book, and the title of the book is I'm Also a Woman. She went on ahead to define, to change the narrative of certain conditions that the African context, the African culture does not even want to accept or embrace. Zeripah, tell us your story.
I was born without a womb, and I only discovered that after my marriage. When I was a teenager, I didn't have my period, and I thought I was one of those, late bloomers. I remember when I was like 17 years old, my mom was asking my aunt. She just mentioned that I'm a bit worried because Zeri has turned 17 years now, but she still hasn't having the periods and all that. So my aunt asked my mom that, does it make her sick? Is she sick? My mom said, no, she's not sick. She doesn't even complain of anything, of any pains whatsoever. Then my aunt said, yeah, just leave it like that. Maybe she's one of the late bloomers.
Wow. Okay, so after that, when did this then become like the reality of your life? When did you then realize that this is big, this is just not late blooming?
I met my boyfriend, who became my husband. He was my first, and then he just we dated for like 2 years, and then he said, he decided to get married. We decided to get married, but I told him that I haven't had my periods yet, and it's a cause for concern, because you just hear people talking that if you don't have your periods, then you won't have kids. So I just wanted to have my periods first before getting married. And then he was like, no, it's okay, don't worry. It can happen whilst we are married, That's what happened. And then we got married. And then 3 months down the line, after getting married, we couldn't do the deed.
As in, there was no way you could be intimate together?
Yes, unfortunately. We tried, but there was something that was blocking. And initially I thought that's how it is, virginity is like that. Little did I know that there is more to it than being a virgin.
Okay, so at this stage, were you not worried and concerned? Did you consult any other people? Did you research? Did you talk about it for you to get to understand that this is...
Before the 3 months, we kept on trying. We kept on trying, and it was so painful. I remember I got to a point where I was even scared of my husband. When it's time for him to come back from work and all that, then I would be like, okay, it's that time of the day, This is going to happen. The pain was too much.
And then at this stage, did you have any person to support you, to discuss, other than your husband, that, listen, we are actually facing a problem?
Not really. Only after 3 months, that's when we decided to tell my aunt.
Okay.
So we called my aunt, my father's sister, and then I told her, you know what, this is what's happening. We haven't been intimate, And then my aunt was like, why? What's wrong? Then I explained to her what was happening. And then she said, can you please come visit me? We have to go and see a gynecologist, because it's my first time hearing that. Why were you quiet all along? And I was like, I thought maybe it was going to happen, but it never happened.
Is this the same aunt that your mom asked earlier on in regards to you being a late bloomer?
It's the younger sister.
It's the younger sister.
Yes.
Okay. So, did you finally get to go?
Yes, I went to the auntie. I went to visit the aunt, and then I explained to her in person exactly what was happening. And then we went to the gynecologist the following day. And yeah, that's when all hell broke loose.
So, take me through that moment when you were in the hospital.
Okay, we arrived at the gynecologist, and when we walked in, he asked me the questions like, when was your last period? And then I told him I haven't had my period, and he was surprised. How so? Then I explained to him that I don't know, I just don't have my periods. I haven't had my periods ever since. And then I explained to him what was happening between me and my husband, that we got married like 3 months ago and we haven't been intimate since. We've been trying, but the pain was just too much. So he said, okay, let's do a scan, let's check you and everything. And then he went and checked, and then he told me that I've got a thick hymen, right? I was born with a thick hymen, that's what he said. And then he said I only needed a small operation, right? So that I can be able to be intimate with my husband. And then he did a scan, and then he couldn't find my womb. He couldn't find my womb. He said, I cannot see any womb.
How did you react to this news?
I was shocked. I didn't know there was something like that. So I even asked him, like, what do you mean there is no womb? Then he said, yeah, there is no womb.
Who were you with in the hospital at this point?
I was with my aunt.
And your husband was not there?
My husband was not there. So I asked him to call my aunt to come in because I was shocked. So I needed like someone, I needed support.
Yes.
So I told him, can you call my aunt, and then at least you can explain to him what's happening. And then my aunt was called, and then she was just as shocked as I was. And we just couldn't believe it. And then I remember him telling me that unfortunately you won't be able to have kids. The only option that you have is adoption. I really was shocked because growing up you tell yourself that I'm gonna have my 2 kids, I'm gonna have my 4 kids, but then I didn't know that it wasn't up to us to decide how many kids you want to have when you grow up, when you get married.
Okay, and after this gruesome discovery, what then did you do?
The doctor told me that I have to bring my husband along so that he can explain to him, because he told me that it was a condition. He didn't mention the name of the condition. He said it's a condition and it's found in 1 in a million women.
Wow.
Yes. And he even asked my aunt, like, why did you let her get married before her periods,
Oh, okay.
And my aunt said, no, the thing is, she even explained to me before her marriage that she hasn't had her periods, and then but the boyfriend is insisting on them getting married. That's why we just had to let her get married.
Okay, so you discovered that you and your husband, freshly in marriage, you discovered this. How did your marriage handle or manage this discovery?
That was a bomb, eh? It really was a bomb. And I remember we left the hospital, and then we went to my aunt's place, and we called my husband. I was even scared, like, how is he going to take the news that we are not going to have kids. So yeah, well, we just had to call him. We called him. We told him to come as soon as possible, and he did the following day. So we were supposed to meet at the hospital because he was gonna just come straight to the hospital. So I went with my aunt to the hospital for the appointment, and when we got there, the doctor, I remember the doctor called me inside and he started talking to me. He explained to me like, you know what, you're not going to have kids, and we don't know how your husband is going to handle this. Yes, but what I'm advising you is that whatever happens, just know that you won't be able to have kids. You only have a choice of, an option of adoption.
Did you at the time even consider surrogacy? Well, I know cultural differences, but did you explore any alternatives, or your marriage didn't have that room to explore?
It was a bit tricky because what happened was, being Africans, when we left the hospital, when the doctor explained to my husband, he was supportive. He told me that he knows that something might be wrong, and maybe we have to find another option. We need a second opinion, right? And the husband, they tried doing the counseling, and they even explained to him that just call your parents or your sisters, your family, just call your family, explain to them what is happening. We're going to do the same. We're going to call your parents, we're going to inform them about what's happening, and let's hear what they say. And funny enough, when they called my parents, they said no, there's no way she's going to undergo that operation. They believed that I was bewitched,
Okay.
Even his parents as well, they also believed that. They said no, this is not normal. There's no way a person can be born without a womb, unless if there's something that happened.
So you had all these people with all these assumptions. Did you at any stage try to find out more about your condition by yourself, or you had other people coming to you telling you this is the name of the condition?
During that time, I just had to go with the flow. The parents say no, we have to take the traditional route. That's what they told me. They said there's nothing like that. There's no way a person can be born without a womb, so we're going to go the traditional way.
What was the traditional way?
We had to go to the prophets. We had to go to the traditional healers. When you are desperate, you just, you just go where the wind goes. That's what was happening. I remember my sister-in-law, his sister, she was going to this church, and then they had a prophet. Then she took me there. She told me, he will be able to help you. And I was given concoctions, milk mixed with cooking oil, eggs, lemons, salt. And I was asked to drink that. I was told that I mustn't vomit, because if I do, then I won't be able to have kids. So I mustn't vomit. And you know how it is when you're desperate. I don't remember vomiting. I drank that. but I never vomited.
How long did you?
We went to that prophet for like, it went up to like 2 months. I remember we used to go even to the mountains, sleep in the mountains, praying throughout the night, fasting, doing everything, and it didn't work out. And then we decided to go to the traditional healers. We went to the traditional healers. I was given some sticks. It was like cane-like sticks, different sizes, and they asked me to insert them into my vagina. That's what happened. And my husband was at work, and I was staying with his sister that was like 40 kilometers away from where we were staying. And I used to insert those sticks, and then like if I managed to go to the bigger size, then we could call my husband so that he could come. You can imagine being there, everyone is there, my parents, his sister, they are there. Every morning they want to know what happened. Did we manage to be intimate?
How was your emotional health at the time? Emotionally, how were you handling all this?
It was really bad because it was affecting even our sex life as well, because the moment he's there, he comes, and then you are scared. You're like, okay, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? You're not even concentrating. It was really hard. And then if it doesn't, the following morning, I have to wake up and tell everyone that nothing happened.
Did you get anybody who was actually telling you at the moment to say, just accept the condition? Or everyone needed you to act on it?
Everyone needed me to act on it. No one even did some researches, except that everyone was telling themselves that I was bewitched. Everyone believed that. I remember, as a traditional healer, they told me that my grandmother, from my mother's side, they said she's the one who did it. She took my pants when I was still young, and then tampered with them, and then that's where my womb is. She dug it somewhere. She put it in a bottle. She dug it somewhere.
Did you believe that?
I did. That time I did. I believed it. Okay, she loved me a lot. I was a favorite. Being the eldest granddaughter.
Yes.
I was a favorite, and then I just thought, maybe during those days because I used to go there, she used to, until I was 7 years old, she would put me on her back. So I thought she loved me a lot. So I thought during those days, maybe that's when it happened.
So, believing everything that they said, what was your husband's narrative, interpretation of all this?
My husband was, naturally he was a quiet person, and he just went with the flow. And some of those stuff, I was told he wasn't there. There was his sister, because he had to go to work. And then, so I remember we went to the traditional healer, and I was told that my grandmother did that to me. And it was so, I was so hurt. I loved her more than my grandmother from the father's side. So I decided to go and confront her. Yes, I did. I went and confronted her. I just told her that, why didn't you kill me? If you did this to me, why didn't you kill me? You should have just killed me.
What was her response?
Usually, she loved me a lot. So the moment she saw me, she usually had this, dance, welcoming dance. And that's what she did. And I just told her, just stop there. Stop. Why did you do this to me? And she was like, do what? And I told her straight up that you bewitched me. You know, when you are hurt, at times you don't hold back your emotions. You just
burst it out. Yeah, you express it.
Yes, that's what happened. I just told her, stop there. Why did you do this to me? Why didn't you kill me? And she was surprised. Then I told her, yeah, you did this to me. They told me that you did this to me. So you should have just killed me, because what's the difference? I'm not like any other girls out there. I don't have a womb. I don't have my periods. And I remember my grandfather just popped in, and he just popped in and said, what's going on? What's wrong? Then I explained to him, and then he said, no, there's nothing like that. And they told me that that's what you did.
Okay, at this stage, what is your husband? What's your husband's role in all this? Is he there as a husband? Is he also confused?
He was also as confused as I was.
Were you talking at this point? Were you staying together, or?
We were staying together, but I was spending most of the time with his sister.
Okay.
At his sister's place, because that's where we went, because she wanted to help me. She wanted to take me to the prophets. She wanted to take me to the traditional healers, just to get help. So we kept on updating him over the phone.
Okay.
Yes. So when we went to the traditional healer, he wasn't there.
And he was in support of all this, the search for a solution. He was in support.
Yes, he was in support for me to do.
When did you realize that all means are to no end, actually?
What happened was, those cans that I was given, that I was inserting, I used them for, I think it was like almost 3 months. Yes. So every week I could call my husband, and then nothing was happening. Yeah, until it happened. So when it happened, then that's when I was released to go back to my husband. And then, it started happening.
So you became intimate at this stage?
Yes.
And was it painful? Was it normal? Was it...
I can't say it was normal. It wasn't that painful. Looking back now that I've done my researches and all that, I can take it as dilation, because now we use people with the same condition as mine, like they use dilators. Some undergo the operation, but I didn't go through the operation because those sticks helped me.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And then so after everything was normal, I guess at this stage your marriage also was normal.
Yes, everything was normal. Of course, there were times when, say, he's away, or I'm away, and then when we have to do it again, it becomes painful, Yes, but it was better compared to the first days.
To the trauma.
To the trauma.
I can imagine.
Yes. So that part was sorted out. Yes. I didn't undergo the operation.
Okay.
Right?
So you did it naturally.
Yes, we did it naturally.
You got a bit of relief.
Yes, we got a bit of relief, but then still the having kids part still remained. And we had the hope that since we've been helped with this, it's going to be easy. We are going to have kids. Since we've been helped traditionally, so maybe this means that even the womb is there, So I'm going to have kids, And I kept on going back to the prophets, drinking this concoction, drinking that, But still nothing happened. I never got pregnant.
How many years into the marriage did you actually realize that, for sure, there is no womb? We won't have a child.
I remember 3 years later, my husband I mean, like, he couldn't stand the pressure. Because I remember I met up with a letter that was written to him by his father. He didn't show me that letter. I found it myself. I was packing clothes in the wardrobe, and then I found a letter. It was written, marry another woman, marry another wife, my son. You can't keep on staying with furniture in your house. I remember after reading those words, I just stormed out of the house. He even mentioned that, yeah, we do have, we have many cows, so we can help you marry another wife. You can't keep on staying with the furniture in your house. So I stormed out. It was in the evening. I remember storming out of the house. We were staying near the train station, so I wanted to kill myself. I wanted to throw myself on the railway line. But then, he managed to catch up with me before I could reach there. And then he pulled me back to the house. I told him, just leave me. I'm a piece of furniture. Let me just die. I'm useless, Being referred to as a piece of furniture, it's something else. I'm as good as dead. So I told him, just let me die. He said, no, don't listen to that. I love you. That's what matters, I didn't want to show you this later because I knew it was going to come to this. And I told him it's too late for that. I saw that, and so just let me go. It was tough. That was really tough.
So, was this the first time you contemplating suicide, or attempting rather suicide?
Yes, that was the first time.
Did you have any other episodes after that?
Yes, many of them after that. Because the thing is, he changed. He really was supportive. He kept on telling me that, he told me that, a child is a gift from God. So when the time is right, God is going to give us a child. And but then I started hearing stories of him, being promiscuous. People talk, but I used to tell them, no, not my husband. He's not like that, because I didn't see it in the house. But then I remember he started he didn't eat, and then there was a time he left me. He just disappeared. He was a quiet person, but then there were days when we would go maybe for a week without talking to each other. He would just be quiet, and I would be asking him what have I done to you? I'm sorry, did I say anything that offended you? Did I offend you in any way? I'm sorry, asking for forgiveness, knowing that I've done nothing wrong. And then I could go to because I transformed, I was going to a Pentecostal, but then I decided to go to those other churches. I was now wearing white and, a duke, all that kind of stuff. And he joined me. He was supporting me. Then I used to go and tell the pastors that, okay, this is what's happening. He's not talking to me in the house. Can you please ask him what's happening, what's wrong? And then when the pastors asked him is there something wrong and everything, he would just keep quiet, not even respond to them. So they got tired of me, because I remember there was a time I went there, I told him what was happening, and then they said, your husband, even if we talk to him, he just keeps quiet. I went to his brothers. They would tell me, your story, you don't have kids, So that's what's making him act like that. So I had no one to talk to. It was just me and him, you know. I didn't tell my parents that time, like what was happening. I just kept it to myself, suffering alone, hoping that things were going to change. But it became worse. I remember there was a time he just left without telling me where he was going to. 2 days down the line, you know, I looked for him everywhere. I couldn't find him. And then I remember I went to his friend. And then the friend had told the wife that he told him that he can't take it anymore. So he's going to leave. He's just going to leave me, you know. So I thought maybe that's what happened. He had just left me. And then I just waited. And by that time I was even staying with his sister's daughters. And I told them what was happening. I ended up telling them what was happening. And we just waited for him to come back, hoping that he would come back. And he came back, like it was almost a week later. And he told me no, he had visited his sister. He just needed a break from everything.
So him coming into the house, how was the atmosphere like? Did you ask questions? Was it the moment that you guys broke up? Did he open up to you?
No, when he came back, I just welcomed him as my husband. And I asked him where he was, and he told me, yeah, I went to visit my sister. I just needed a break from everything. And I understood, because I told myself, I'm the one who has got the problem. I'm the one who can't have kids. So I think it's because of that. That's why he's leaving. So I blamed myself for everything. And yeah, I forgave him. And life went on. But then things were no longer the same. I remember we went to church the other time. We had an all-night prayer. And then when we were there was this prophet who told him that your wife is putting something in your food because she doesn't want you to leave her because she can't have kids. And I remember he just walked away. He didn't finish, the all-night prayer. He just left. And I remained there. I just had to pray because I wanted to have kids so bad that now I was just wondering, what is it? I haven't done anything. I haven't even, all the prophets I went to, all the traditional healers I went to, I was with his sister. She's the one who took me there. So there was nothing, I didn't do anything. So when I went home the next morning, from then on, there was that silent treatment. I got used to it because I blamed myself for everything. And then I remembered he stopped eating my food. He stopped touching anything that I cooked. That's when I realized it had become worse. If your husband doesn't eat your food, where is he? Eating, yes.
So, at this point, did you have any friend support?
I was a loner. I didn't have friends. I didn't want people to know my story. I just kept it to myself. I didn't want people to know what was happening in the house. So I just suffered alone.
Okay, so take me through the process, the point where he gave up, because I'm sure at this point he couldn't cope.
Yes, I remember he started being, the promiscuity now, he was doing it right in front of me. I remember he went to this lady, and my brother saw him with the lady, and he came and told me that, yeah, I saw him. You know, I just, like, I confronted him. I asked him, sorry, I heard you were like this and that and that. Then he would just apologize and say, I'm sorry. And then I would forgive him, because I knew I was the one with the problem. I would just forgive him, just like that. And then there was a day when, like, I got tired. I was now depressed. I remember I went to we were staying just next to a mountain. So I remember I went there alone, and I sat there. I started praying. I was tired. I told God, you know what, just give me a sign. Must I continue with this marriage, or must I leave? Because now I'm tired. And then the following morning, he left the house, and then I sent his sister's daughter to buy bread. And then she came and told me that I saw uncle with his girlfriend, you know. And I was like, oh, really? Wait. And then she told me, they are there, they are standing there. Yeah. I went and checked where they were, and they were there, you know, in a compromising position that you could tell that, yeah, really, that's what's happening. And it's the same lady everyone was telling me about. I mean, everyone was talking about. It was that same lady. I remember her sister, and the lady was married, by the way. She wasn't a single lady. She was married to someone. Yes. I remember his sister-in-law, her brother's wife, telling me that she just approached me and told me that, you know what, you are a good person. I don't know why this is happening to you. Then I asked her, what's wrong? Then she told me, yeah, when you were not at home, my sister-in-law was sleeping at your house, and she knew all the details that you were not at home. You were at his sister's house, meaning to say she knew everything. Then I confronted him. I asked him, and he said, yes, I'm sorry. And I could just forgive him, because I knew I was the one with the problem. I didn't have a choice but to forgive him, because he was my first, and I loved him with my all, and I thought one day things would get better, but instead it became worse.
So when did your marriage end?
After I discovered that he is like really with that woman, then I told myself that, you know what, maybe I should just leave. Maybe it wasn't meant to be. Maybe I'm supposed to be alone because I can't have kids, so maybe I should spend the rest of my life alone. That's when I left. That's when I left him. He was at work. And then I just packed my clothes and left. I left everything. I just packed my clothes. And you know, when I left, I was so depressed. I was so slim. Like, I couldn't eat because he wasn't eating my food. So I also didn't enjoy eating, you know. So I left the house, and I went to the bus, to the taxi rank. I told myself, you know what, whichever bus comes, I'm going in, whichever direction. That's what I did. I didn't know where I was going. I was gonna decide whilst I'm sitting there in the bus where exactly I'm going to. I never told anyone. I didn't tell my mom. I didn't tell anyone. I just left.
Were you Were you working at this stage, or you were a full-time housewife?
There was a time I was working, but then it affected my work because I could just break down and cry at work. I remember my boss telling me that, you know what, I think you can go on leave. It's okay. We'll be paying you. You will come back when you are fine. So I didn't tell them exactly what was happening, you know, because I didn't want people to know what was happening.
Yes.
They just knew that maybe there's, you know, problems in the marriage, but they didn't know what was the reason for all that. So I left work because I was depressed. I used to cry. I would just break down. So that time I was at home now. I was a full-time housewife, you know. Then I just left. And then I remember I got into a bus. Luckily, the one that came was going to that direction where my aunt was staying, the one who took me to the gynecologist. So I just had to go there and explain to her what was happening. So I just told her, you know what, I left the marriage.
Please stay tuned for part 2. Don't forget to like, to share, and also to follow and subscribe.